question that we've got to decide on here is, do you want to work with a team of superstars who appreciate being invited to share in the amazing opportunity that you've created by starting and running a successful business that gives them an opportunity to earn a great living? So on the one hand, do you want to work with a group of superstars who appreciate being given the opportunity, being invited to share in this amazing business you've created, and they can use this amazing business you've created to earn a great living for themselves? Or do you want to keep carrying around a group of entitled employees who feel like you owe them a job? Excuse me? Rock stars? Well, there's a third alternative. And unfortunately, the third alternative is the alternative that too many people take, and this is the reason why their businesses never grow. And that is, they just resign themselves to settling for doing everything themselves. And that is, I guess, an option. It's not an option for me. I don't want that option. That's a pretty sad way to go through life, because you can't ever do anything great and amazing on a big scale if you're doing it all by yourself. You just can't. No matter how great you are, no matter how much you care, no matter how hard you work, no matter how brilliant you may be, you just can't help make as much positive change in the world doing everything yourself as compared to working with a team of superstars. And unfortunately, so many people, they just give up on the idea. They give up expecting. They give up believing. They just give up on the life that can be your life, working with an amazing group of superstars who actually appreciate that you have invited them to participate in this amazing opportunity that you have created so they can have a better life. Because the entitled mentality, the mindset of entitlement, it's so persuasive, it's so pervasive. It's so pervasive. And I'm not just talking about low-wage employees. I mean, you see this at all levels. Some of the most highly educated people in the world are some of the most entitled people in the world. And it's so demoralizing to work with these people that, unfortunately, lots of entrepreneurs who have great intentions, who have great opportunities, who have great potential to really make the world a better place, they just quit and give up and resign themselves to just do it all themselves. If you play all in this weekend, I'm going to show you my team of amazing superstars. We are going to show you how you can build a life for yourself where you get to work with amazing superstars who actually appreciate being invited to participate in this opportunity that you have created to make the world a better place, not least of which for themselves. Sound good? Worth being here? All right, so check this out. Check this out. Maybe some of you can relate. Probably most of you can. You are sitting at home. You're probably doing some kind of a job, working for someone else, trying to make ends meet, trying to keep your head above water. and you have this idea for a product or a service or a way of doing business that can help a lot of people. You've invented something. Yeah? Who's invented something? You've all invented something. You've invented a product. Raise your hand if you've invented a product. Raise your hand if you've invented a service. Raise your hand if you've invented a better way of delivering a service. You all have. We're all inventors. You all invented and created something. Every single one of you has. I know you have, or you wouldn't be in this room. So you're sitting there at the proverbial workbench in your garage. It might be your garage, it might be your kitchen table, but you're sitting there at the proverbial workbench at your garage, and you're fiddling around with this thing you've figured out, this idea. How can I make this thing work? How can I build a machine that produces this product, that produces this service, produces this experience? You all understand when I say machine, I mean figuratively, yes? Okay. You're fiddling around and you kind of get this machine working. And then you go and you hire some engineers, and you hire some consultants, and you seek out expertise to figure out, how do I take this machine that I built out of spare parts and turn it into something that can be that can be scaled, that can be operated safely, that can operate efficiently, and that can really be used to make a lot of products and a lot of services to make a lot of people's lives better. Are you all with me? So far tracking? This is your life experience. This is how you got here, right? And then you take that machine and you go and you rent a warehouse. Could be an office, could be a storefront, could be a restaurant. You rent a place to do business, and you bolt this machine to the ground, and you set up the warehouse, you set up the office, you set up the restaurant, you set up the facility to operate the machine. Yeah? And you sign that 5-year lease, and you do a big gulp, right? Because you're hoping you're going to be able to pay for it. You're hoping this whole thing works out. You're hoping that this thing is going to work the way you think it should work to make the world a better place, to start to make your positive impact on the world and create your vision of reality. And then you go all over the place. Maybe you go all over your city. Maybe you go all over your state. Maybe you go all over your region. Maybe you're like me and you have to go all over the country. Maybe you even have to go all over the world to find all these raw materials. And you gather up these raw materials, 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 and you're paying for these raw materials out of blood and sweat and tears and ingenuity. And you stock this warehouse with this machine full of all these raw materials. But your job isn't done yet, because now you have to figure out an efficient way to operate the machine. So you work on processes, and you work on procedures, and you work on systems, and you figure out a safe, efficient way to operate this machine. And you practice feeding the raw materials into the machine and turning the crank on the machine, and the machine spits out the finished product to your specifications. And now you know you're almost ready to go out and find some customers. And so you go out and you find the customers, and you do networking, and you talk to your friends, and you talk to your family, and you buy advertising, and you do webinars, and you do speeches, and you travel all over the place, and you find a bunch of customers, and you say to the customers, in essence, I have come up with a better way, and I've built a machine that can produce a better way for you. And I've got a place to work from to operate the machine to give you a better way, a better product, a better service, a better future. And I found all these raw materials that can feed into the machine that can give you this better way. Will you please trust me with an order? Maybe even a deposit. Will you please trust me by placing an order? And trust that I will deliver, I will cause the product to be delivered to you. And whether you take advantage of this in your marketing and in your sales, or you don't take advantage of this in your marketing and your sales, it's implicit in the conversation that if I can't or don't deliver the product or the service to your satisfaction, I will eat it and give you a refund. And the customers say, no, I don't trust you because I don't know you and I don't see proof of concept. I don't see that you have a multi-million-dollar business yet, and so I'm not going to trust you. And then the next customer says, show me a bunch of other people who have bought the product or bought the service, and then maybe I'll trust you with my business, trust you with my order. And then some of them say, no, I won't trust you because of your appearance. And some of them say, no, I won't trust you because of your age. And some of them say, no, I won't trust you because of your race or your religion or your national origin or your sexual orientation or whatever other bullshit people use to determine whether or not they're going to make a purchasing decision. But you keep at it, and you keep at it, and you keep at it, and you get punched in the face, and with bloodied lips and tears in your eyes and black eyes and bruises all over, you keep at it until you finally find enough customers who will say, yes, I will trust you, and place an order for your product or your service. And then you go home and you celebrate. But in the middle of the celebration, you also realize that your work has actually only just begun because you still have to find employees. And so then you go out and you start talking to people and you say, would you like to have a better life? Would you like to have a way to make a great living for yourself? Would you like to have opportunities to join me and make the world a better place by helping to create a product or a service or an experience that will make the world a better place? And they say, well, depends. What benefits are you offering? Benefits? I'm sharing an opportunity with you for you to have a better life and make the world a better place and do work that you find fulfilling and give you opportunities to advance yourself. And they say, well, what kind of salary guarantees will you give me? Salary guarantees? I don't have any guarantees. I just spent the last 10 years figuring out how to make this fucking thing work, and now you want me to give you salary guarantees? I'm sharing an opportunity with you. You don't have to invent something, and you don't have to fiddle around with it in your garage on your nights and weekends hoping to figure out a way to make it work. And you don't have to go out and hire the engineers and the consultants and everything else to figure out how to make this machine actually build it. And you don't have to sign a contract with a facility for a 5-year guarantee and personally guarantee it and explain to your spouse or significant other that they need to co-sign on the guarantee. And you don't have to go all over hell's half acre to find the raw materials and find the raw materials and find the raw materials. And you don't have to go out and find the customers and find the customers and find the customers. I'm just giving you this opportunity. Would you like to come to my party and we can all make a better life together? And eventually you find some people who say yes. And some of them don't show up for the first day of work. But the ones who do, you start training them. And you say, this is the product, this is the machine, this is how the machine works. Keep your fingers away from these parts that'll hurt you. Follow these processes, follow these procedures. I've taken the time to write down the instructions for how to operate this machine. And you take these raw materials that I've got, and you feed them into the machine, and it spits out this finished product, which we're going to deliver to the customers that I've already found. You all relate to this? Is this or is this not your life story up till now? This is exactly what I think about when I share opportunities with people to join my team. Today we have just over 100 full-time employees. Our team meeting last night had like 10 times more people in it than our first 2 years of live quarterly. It had more people in it than our first 2 years of live quarterly meetings, just a team meeting. And that doesn't even count the people who were there by Zoom. Do you want to live a life where you get to work with superstars who value and appreciate the opportunity you are willing to share with them to come to your party and make the world a better place so they can earn a great living for themselves and their family? Or do you want to keep carrying around a bunch of employees who have a sense of entitlement? They feel entitled to their job. Yeah, it was a little bit of a rhetorical question, but thanks for the assist. Can always count on Dan. First, you hire someone as an employee. Then you cultivate a group of employees and you coordinate everyone's activities and you build a staff. And then eventually, if you stick at it long enough, you invite some people from that staff to join your team. A team wins together and a team loses together. If the people on your team don't win when you win, they're not really on your team, are they? You're not really on their team. If you don't lose when they lose, and if they don't lose when you lose, you're not really a team, are you? Make sense? All right. This company is just like one big family. This firm is just like one big family. Anyone ever caught yourself saying that? Anyone ever heard someone say that? Probably a former employer. Chances are, when you hear people say that, they're talking about a firm that is stuck in entitlement. They're commenting on the warm sense of belonging, but unconsciously they're also talking about not having to earn their place. In the family at work, just like the family at home, entitlement means you belong and you benefit precisely because you belong. You don't have to earn your place in the family. You're a part of the family. You were born into it. You're entitled to be part of the family. Entitlement is the result of too much generosity. We give people what they expect and we don't hold them accountable for meeting criteria of excellence. In business, it commonly happens because managers are unwilling to do the work of requiring work. It takes work to require work. And if you're unwilling to do the work of requiring work, you are beginning to foster an environment of entitlement, and you will suffer the consequences. Frequently, it's because the managers are using their relationship with their staff to get their love, to get their security, to get their self-esteem. They don't want the employees to not like them, and so they don't hold them accountable for doing the work. Or sometimes the managers are just too lazy to do the work of requiring work. Very often, though, it arises from pity. We don't hold people accountable for results because we don't think they can actually perform. Good performance, poor performance, or no performance, it's all the same. It's all treated the same. In the workplace, people feel entitled when they have so much security that they don't have to earn their rewards. When people don't have to earn what they get, they soon take for granted what they receive. The real irony is that they're not grateful for what they get. Instead, they want more. And this is a terrible cycle called entitlement. Entitlement is an attitude. It's a way of looking at life. It's a mindset. Those who have this mindset believe that they do not have to earn what they get. They come to believe that they get something because it is owed to them, because they're entitled to it. They get what they want because of who they are, not what they do. I should get this salary because of who I am. I'm a lawyer. I should get this salary because of who I am. I've earned this credential, not based on what I actually do every day. Entitlement destroys motivation. It lowers productivity. In the long run, it crushes self-esteem. In entitled organizations, there is basically very little real respect for people who are at the lower levels. Top-down paternalistic organizations really do run in ways that express the belief that employees are not capable. Management tells subordinates the rules, and subordinates learn them like automatons. The rules themselves even say, "I don't trust your judgment." So is it any wonder that morale is poor? Very often in these organizations, we find employees are actually very angry. You ever go into a business and you could just tell everyone's just pissed off? They're saying, you don't show respect for us as individuals. You don't give me increasing responsibilities. You don't give me increasing opportunities for growth and advancement and improvement because you don't think that I can actually grow and improve. You don't let me make decisions. You treat me like a child. You keep telling me what to do. You never ask me. You never listen to me. And besides that, you don't punish people who do nothing around here. I'm working my ass off, and you let those assholes get away with it. I end up having to do their work plus my own. Why am I even bothering? But even as entitled people resent being treated like children, they're also ambivalent. Because rules give us an easy way to master situations, don't they? I didn't break the rules. You can't blame me. The rules say I don't have to do that. The rules don't say I have to do that. Rules give us security and protect us from having to think and make judgments. However, the over-dependence on the rules makes people ambivalent. Even though dependent people hide in the rules, they don't like being powerless. No one likes being powerless. They want the support, yet they bitterly resent the fact that they need it. People resent the presumption of incompetence that underlies dependence. But without confidence, they remain dependent and more resentful than grateful. This situation helps explain why entitled people so often become greedy. In addition to grabbing for security and feeling like they got boxed into resenting what they get, they unconsciously also seek to get even more. Because when you can't do for yourself, every single time you consume $1, all you see is that you got one less dollar. And so you're always greedy and hungry to accumulate and accumulate. You start hoarding dollars. You start hoarding power. You start hoarding decision-making authority because you don't really understand that you can give as much of it to yourself as you ever want or need. And if you don't know you can get it for yourself, every bit of power, authority, or money that you get, you want to hold on to it. Y'all get what I'm saying here? Historically, rich firms in a rich economy were willing to be, quote unquote, nice and carry even those who don't add value. In large bureaucracies, it's also easy to hide, which makes it even more likely that people will not be held accountable for doing real work. Over time, everyone who is not held accountable has all the time in the world. Because if you're not held accountable, you get it done today, you get it done next week, what difference does it make? In organizations where there is no sense of urgency, morale and motivation are usually very low. There's no vitality, no energy. And the people who work in those organizations, at first, such total security seems like a wonderful thing. But before long, a kind of heavy complacency settles in. When the system is unresponsive, when the organization does not require work that makes a difference, when outstanding performers are not rewarded for their accomplishments, and when underachieving performers are not punished, people become apathetic. In organizations where nothing much happens regardless of whether you do something exceptional or just show up, the best people lose heart and motivation is reduced near the lowest common denominator. And employers unwittingly perpetrate this attitude by our failure to hold people accountable. We don't really expect people to excel, so we don't bother to install key performance indicators. We don't bother to install metrics. We don't bother to use a dashboard. We don't bother to look at a good set of financials because we already know we're surrounded by a bunch of entitled losers who are never going to account to much anyway, and we just need them to show up like a robot and follow the instructions exactly as specified. Why bother measuring them? Why bother holding them accountable? Why bother pushing them? Why bother punishing them for not performing? Why bother setting up a system to reward them for performing when we have such low expectations of them to begin with? People are not at their best when life is too safe. When people receive without having to achieve, they are protected from failure. There's no punishment for not achieving. At first glance, that may seem like a good thing, but it is not. By protecting people from risk, we destroy their self-esteem. We rob them of the opportunity to become strong, competent people. We rob them of the ability to create a better future for themselves. Facing risk is the only way we gain confidence because confidence is the result of mastering challenge. Confidence is an internal state. It cannot be given, it can only be earned. The only way to get it is to be familiar with fear and then conquer it. In order to learn, we must also occasionally fail, because that's what reality is. If you don't take any risks, you never grow. If you never fail, it means you're not taking enough risks. We get courage, the strength to do something new, only when we have learned to see failure as a battle and not the war itself. Without courage, no one takes risks. Without taking risks, no one develops courage. Too little anxiety is therefore destructive. And this is why entitlement crushes self-esteem. It deprives people of the experiences that create confidence. They never learn how to push past risk to success. They never have the opportunity to develop skills of coping, of somehow managing to pull it off despite the odds. Instead of strength, courage, and confidence, people get trapped by entitlement. They learn to become cautious. They learn to avoid risk. When security is very high and people should not be afraid, they are entitled. They become entitled, and people cling to entitlement, fearing that they could not earn or compete or survive on their own. The long-term results of too much protection is an endless search for protection because they're afraid of losing it. In the short run, requiring people to earn what they receive seems vastly harsher than simply giving it to them. But in the long run, it's the only way that people can gain self-esteem and independence. So there's 3 states of mind that your organization is going to be in. And it's not exactly black and white or binary, but this is just a model to kind of keep in mind. There are organizations that are in a state of mind, a mindset of entitlement, where the entitlement is pervasive in the organization. People are complacent. They get raises or bonuses, or they just get to keep their fucking job, regardless of whether they actually perform or not. And so there's no incentive to work. Now, that's where you have a situation where no one is afraid of anything at all. The problem is they don't have any pressure to become the best they can be. At the other end of the extreme are organizations where there's a mindset of fear. And now they're paralyzed. And now they can't even think straight. And now they're afraid to try or do anything because they're always afraid of being punished. Usually these are organizations, let me go back. In the organization where there's a mindset of entitlement, usually what you're going to find are overly detailed, overly specific, overly restrictive rules. Basically, the rules, the policies, the systems, the procedures, they're so oppressive that no one can actually be creative. And what people end up doing is they end up hiding behind these rules. And they feel safe. And basically the way you keep your job is don't break the rules. And all you have to do to keep your job is don't break the rules. If the rules tell you to do something, you do it, you keep your job. If the rules don't tell you to do something, you don't do it, you keep your job, and you're safe, and you're entitled. And then you become ambivalent, and then you actually begin to resent the rules that have put you into this state of mind where you're basically just rotting from the inside out. At the other end of the extreme is fear. This is where people are paralyzed. This is where you see firms with no rules, with no policies, with no documented procedures, with no metrics, with no key performance indicators, with no objective criteria for measuring anyone's performance, and everyone's afraid, is today the day my boss is going to walk in and suddenly be pissed off that I did something that at the last 10 times I did it, it was rewarded, but today it's not okay. Anyone ever work in an organization like that? What we want to do, what we have to do if we want to work with superstars is we have to strike a balance, and we have to maintain the balance, and we have to be willing to do the work of maintaining the balance between entitlement on the one side and fear on the other. And this is a mindset of earning. I earn my benefits. I earn my job every day by doing it with excellence. I earn my bonuses. I earn my opportunities. I earn my growth. I'm afraid that if I don't earn it, I'm going to lose it. and I don't show up every day expecting it to just be handed to me, I have some level of anxiety. I feel a level of pressure. I know I must perform, but I know if I perform, I'll be recognized for it. That's the mindset that's the mindset of an organization that attracts and retains superstars. And that is what we are going to show you how to do at this live quarterly meeting. Sound good? All right. So if you ever doubted that there was miracles that are possible, I literally ended that to the second on time. For those of you who are new, that's like unprecedented. Speaking of which, before we invite Erica up to do the 90-day look back celebration, I want to just recognize and welcome everyone who's new. So would everyone who's new please stand up? And just to give them some encouragement, would you stand up if you have been with us for more than, 2 or 3 years? More than 2 or 3 years, stand up. All right, remain standing or stand up if your firm grossed more than $1 million last year. Remain standing or stand up if your firm grossed more than $1 million in the last 12 months, like you're on a 12-month run rate, $1 million run rate. So everyone who was standing up before stay. Remain standing or stand up if your firm grew by more than, someone who's new, call out a percentage that you'd be really fucking impressed with. 70%. Remain standing or stand up if your firm grew by more than 70% in the last year or two. All right? Remain standing or stand up if you work less now than you used to work before. All right, thank you. I just want to say, there's no secret to this. Causes lead to effects. Big surprise. When you go from not having a business plan to having a business plan in writing, these are the kind of results you get. And so we measure success by a lot of different criteria. It's not just financial. It's financial success, it's personal success, it's professional success. So there's something else I wanted to say. Oh, yeah. So I'm about to introduce Erica, but I just want to let everyone know there was a Facebook ad that we did, a marketing thing we did, where we said that we were going to share the 90-day look back as a live stream to share with non-members. We're not going to do that. So some of you expressed some concern about that because this is a safe environment where we can not only celebrate our successes, but we can also celebrate the successes of picking ourselves up off the mat, and that's not necessarily something we want to share with people who are outside of this community. So I want to let you know we heard you, and we will not be live streaming the 90-day look back that is about to begin. So with that being said, I want to introduce Erica to come on up for the...
RJon, before you do that.
Before I do what?
Before you introduce Erica, we have a few housekeeping announcements.
Okay, housekeeping announcements, then Erica.
Yes.
All right.
So announcement number 1, we are running a social media challenge.
I just love the fact that people are already getting up and going to the mic. People who are new are like, what is going on here?
On the screen, you can see you can win 2 reserved front row seats for the next LQM, and those are the ways to do it. Comment on Facebook Live and post a picture to Instagram. Cool.
All right. So the first housekeeping announcement is what again?
The social media contest.
Are they seeing something on the screen?
Yes, they are.
Okay, I'm not seeing it on the confidence monitor, but I trust you. Okay, next.
Second is I have a few seats available for our brand new Alpha Chief Sales Officer program that we're launching next week.
Raise your hand if you're in the Chief Sales, if you've signed up for the Chief Sales Officer program. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. All right, now, no, Chief Sales Officer. We're doing Chief Marketing Officer, and we also have Chief Sales Officer, where we're going to basically manage your salespeople for you. Does that sound like a good idea? Oh. Would it be a better idea if we said we would do it on contingency? And how many spots do we have left for that, Renee?
It's a very small alpha group. I have about 4 or 5 that I can take right now.
So we got 4 or 5 spots for that, and we will be doing that on a contingency fee basis. For those of you who are already signed up, we'll give you the option of sticking with the price point you agreed to or taking the contingency option, and we'll be discussing the contingency fee option and the terms and the conditions for it within the first 12 weeks.
Okay, and then last housekeeping for
now. So that makes me think that that's now gone, based on the people running to the back of the room.
I think it's probably now gone.
Yes, so you snooze, you lose. You missed out, sorry. All right.
I also want to let everybody know you're not going to want to miss Unplugged tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So please make plans to come back early from the dinner break. We've got something great.
Okay, can I take 1 minute to talk about that?
Well, since you ended on time.
All right. So the original Saturday night Unpluggeds were part celebration, big part mindset tune-up. They sort of started to become more celebration, but we're steering them back to being more substantive mindset tune-up. This one in particular, if you've got teenagers, this would be a great one to bring teenagers to. This is going to be a really, really experiential mindset. I'm looking for a word that's not experience. It's going to be really good. You won't want to miss it. And do not show up late. You could be physically injured if you do. I'm not trying to be funny. We won't do it to you. The experience, the beginning of the experience, we have to teach you how to not hurt yourself during the experience. Got it? We're not punching through boards. It's something different. It's something much more horrifying and scary than that.